Ernie Moore Jr. I'm watching these Whattttt video clips about relationships, females. I understand, and I understood a point in these, okay. Girls learn from girls. So if you get childish behavior, understand that the way females operate is to learn from each other. But as some people have pointed out, possibly, perhaps you've heard, women like to see other women crash. So they will mislead you, misguide you, and they are deceptive. Oh, this is you talking bad about women. Hold on, but am I talking wrong about women? Okay, here's what we do. We find the murderer. We say he had the murder weapon. We saw him do the killing. And he came out and admitted he did the killing. And then we say something about his shoes. And they said, oh, you got to go talk about somebody's shoes. Oh, well, look at you. How are you doing any better? See, it gets sidetracked, and then we're like missing the point kind of thing. I need you to understand, women get their understanding, besides the people who, people got to make money, and so they got to say something is different, and they say nothing, but they talk a lot, and they get paid for, it's an S word, and they go on these tours. But and I like to be on my soapbox, and I need to bring up the background. Women live their life through the fantasy of romance novels. They live in a home. You're a daughter. Nobody's letting you out of the house not only do you have sex as a child, they are not letting you get out so that somebody hurts you as a child sexually. They want you home. They want you, yes, you feel like you're a prisoner. Yes, because there are people who are not always nice, and you find yourself attracted to them. Okay, I'm going to say you sometimes, and it's not going to be you. There are, whether you're a girl or you're a woman, you're a female. And you might not understand this concept, but if you are a boy, if a man has sex with a boy and keeps telling the boy who has sex, who do men have sex with, as a child, we're brought up to understand you're a girl. The relationships, a man and a woman get married type of thing. They have children. We don't talk about sex. We just say they have children. And somehow a stork got brought into it, and there's eggs. And Easter is not about the resurrection about Jesus Christ being resurrected by God. Romans 10:9. It's not about that. It's about eggs, and we have a bunny rabbit. That's something different. Pagan, hello. Nonetheless. So, and by the way, this line of talk about this tangent, when a woman is losing her argument, check this out. See if you don't find she derails that. And if you can't defend a point with a woman. Also, it's about being smart. Women are smart. Women are smart. Women spend their lives learning how to be intellectual. Why? Men lift weights to think that they're guys. They want to build muscles. They go play sports. They go hit each other and go bang, run into each other, chest bump. What's that about? That's masculinity. Where are you getting that from? That's the concept that's been delivered. So, women don't chest bump too much. Society doesn't exactly allow them to go topless, but men can go topless. Some guys have man breasts. They're not quite as attractive as women breasts, but they're there. So what is this? So there's stuff that's there. But I think my point had to do with women live from romance novels. And so when you don't deliver something that's been written up and, oh, they're so passionate and you got to be like this. So women have a life of fantasy because they're kept, some would say sheltered, some would say imprisoned, and in that prison they can be abused, but you don't admit that. And some people say, later it got to be, you're not a victim. You're a survivor, and don't talk to people about being victims. Well, here's the thing. What you're doing is you're making a locked circular psychosis type of thing. Yeah, I don't know exactly what that word means, but there's a concept. How do you be a survivor? How do you rationalize being a survivor if you hadn't been a victim? What did you survive if you're a survivor? So there's these people who are told, you're a survivor, you're strong. So we build up, here's the thing. When somebody comes along to somebody else, they want to have their checklist and say, okay, I was nice to somebody. Have a nice day? How are you doing? That's neutral. We're not giving anything. We're not saying, I hope you have a nice day. That means I don't want to touch you. I don't know where you come from. I don't know your background. And you might not want to deal with me. But as a human being, I would like you to have a good day. We don't do that, typically, I think. So the thing of it is, you feel, okay, so there's a thing where you're required to tell people, you're supposed to do things for other people. Let's see. Good Samaritan. Well, he was black. Actually, they didn't have the term black unless it was in that language. But he was Samaritan, and they were dark-skinned, and they were unwanted people. Well, that's at least location and not necessarily because of flesh color. Because everybody actually has translucent, not transparent skin. Because when you take that pin and you get caught, there's this little thin layer type of thing that gets crusty. And that little crusty part, that's your skin. One eye. So that's your skin. So the flesh is colored because of protecting from sun damage type of thing, light damage or radiation, whatever. Nonetheless, so it's about background and blah blah blah. The woman who didn't cook for her spouse, he's got his and I've got mine, but they're supposedly married. She has no idea what a relationship is. Women, okay, the people are called, okay, in 2026, people call modern women, some of them have no concept of what a relationship is. In the 1950s, it is the model of being a wife to be in the kitchen. Here's the thing. And she's supposed to cook. When he comes home, yes, she has the dinner. This is a thing, like decades ago, that was the thing that society just accepted. So the fact that you were fighting against it, woo, I'm not saying that it's, let's just understand that you're going against the template. And what I'm not saying anything. But when the guy in the history, in the romance novel, and well, the living part of the romance novel, where the guy does everything and he goes courting the woman, and she does put out. She does cooking for him. Women had schools where they were taught how to attract the higher society guys. There were schools for that. No, you don't do lowbrow. You don't do the guy who does, the everyday labor job type of thing. He brings in the money. He's a good man. He's a good heart. He had a hard life. He's learned lessons, and he can teach you how to be a good human. Okay, there's a thing about women like the bad boy type of thing, and we're not going to talk about boy, man. Here's the thing. As a child, you grow up, every female you talk to is a girl. So as you grow up, you've never used the word woman for 10, 12 years. You don't have people who are women. You have girls, and they're all... Now, they change. Their chests their sweaters get altered up top and at the bottom sometimes. But it's still about girls, and even say a girl's night out. Women say a girl's night out. So let's not get all hung up on this little, blah, blah, blah. See, if I even mention words, it's just a blah, blah, blah. So, thing of things, I really wanted to point out that she had no idea what her actual relationship was, because for her, she was going to do for her, but she was not supposed to do for him. I'm not going to I see, don't ask questions besides that you don't want answers to. It's just that it's going to presume that you had the answer, and I'm not presuming you have the answer. So I'm not even going to, I'm not going to even do the little smartsy thing of, I'm going to ask you the irrevocable question that you can't, you're going to answer in favor of what I'm talking about. It's not necessarily going to happen because you're not there in reality. What I'm saying, you're living your life, and you are living with what's real type of thing. For you that you've been exposed to. But the things that people have been exposed to are fantasy things, I suppose. There's the talk that women are delusional. Modern women are delusional about woman empowerment. But here's the thing. It's just like a story of romance. I don't read romance novels for the most part. I probably don't know exactly their model. But I do know about stories. I watched movies. I've seen movies. And I know there's this thing about suspension of reality where he had a 9-bullet gun. He had 20 assailants, and he shot all of them 10 times, and he didn't use anybody else's weapon. We're just supposed to understand, yeah, he's the good guy and he made it out. Okay. He couldn't have made it out, but it's a good movie. It's a good movie. So, we have suspension and character assassination type of thing. Let's not bother with the truth. Let's not skip the point. Let's just find out something we can say bad about somebody, and then we win because we think he's a bad person, not whether or not he's innocent. Lynch mob? The guillotine and the lynchings, the West, they like to lynch people. There weren't any people who were Negroes or people of Negroes. They lynched Caucasians. Here's the thing. There's no Caucasian American. So there's this term, white, which has no contact with actual anything. So if you take it into litigation, well, there are no whites. I mean, socially and like the way we live, it's rampant and it's true. But it's not. So we've been fed word. Okay, in the United States, the politicians talk about do it for democracy. We're a republic. So the very fact that the politicians don't bother talking about us being a republic, But they say do it for democracy. You know, everybody likes democracy, and that's supposed to be a good thing. So you're saying the buzzwords. People recognize and they know they should do it. But, okay, I don't know about it. I don't know say. And I don't know. But so the point is, understand when you see these things and you relate with people, besides camera angle, the thing of things is people are not necessarily are being brought up. Okay, No Child Left Behind was, let's change our grading so that people who are still stupid and can't defend themselves in the real world with an understanding of how life is should be elevated or passed to the next grade so that the administration looks like we're getting a higher, put through rate for education, which translates, see, it's an association. We live a life of association. So a woman associates, look, if you have a rich man, you have a good house. So, but the thing of it is, she's doing the girl thing of comparing herself. Oh, she had to get married because her friends were getting married. It's not about, some people used to think about love, but by the way, you don't get married, you get wed. It's a wedding license. I mean, maybe it's a marriage license, but people get wed. You can get wed by a captain of a sailing vessel. That's not, sailors cuss. And that's not religion. There's no religious thing in nature to sailor type of thing. Except the Bible mentions red in the morning, so it's good, it's bad, and then something at night and it's bad, or it's good. But, something like that thing. But, so the person is a master of ceremony. So what happened is this organization indoctrinated itself into the community. Now we have this community domino effect of, hey, you can't have sex unless you are wed. You can't have sex out of wedlock. So you got a lot of horny people saying, what do I have to do to have sex? I really want her bad. Oh, you got to say she's pretty. Oh, you got to say she's nice. Oh, build her up. No, she's ugly. But, once you come in her, it's done. And you can say, oh, it could have been somebody else. There's no cameras. So, it's, one and done. So women can lose their virginity all over the place. And who's going to know if you lost your virginity, right? And virginity doesn't matter at some point. And some people talk about body counts now. You're familiar with guys, but you're familiar with being used for sex. And so now it's dead. It's like when you tap your finger too much and it becomes numb, and you become numb to sex, and sex doesn't matter, and it's not a beautiful thing. It's not making love. Some people even said making love is like a bad word. It's a bad phrase. Making love is what you do to have the phrase making love. Ideally, a child is love-ish once upon a time. And so to make love is a male and female union with their genitals, and they were lucky enough to produce another human being. Actually, you don't have a full human being. You have the start, because a human being is a process. Are you done? Is there nothing you can learn? Because they go through school and you didn't have everything in 4th grade that you got in 8th grade. So your brain has the capacity to take more information. If you didn't know everything you needed to know for life by the time you were in 2nd grade, well, doesn't that say about growth? You also were shorter. You didn't fill out, so we're let's see, there's catabolic and anabolic. So at some point we, go the other way. But the thing about is change, growth, fantasies, reality, what it used to be, has no idea. So there's been a slide of understanding from what things used to be, and people are using the same words, but they don't have the same meanings. And so let's start there. There was definitions we're not using anymore, but we're still using the same words, and we're misusing the words for the situations. So people don't understand what a relationship is why. Okay, that's a thing. That's just a thing, and nobody finished the story. A woman is supposed to be powerful. She's supposed to get the thing. Nobody talks about, okay, the princess and the prince get together and they live happily ever after. But she gets pregnant. She loses her looks. How do they keep the money going? There's no money because it's a story and it's suspension of reality. And you do have to pay for castles. The royal house, the royals, they pay, that's money in there. Somehow there's money. There can be trading, but so suspension of reality in a story that it all works out is all that you're taught. That's the last thing you hear. So a woman looks for the fantasy, and it works out, and it's all a person can go on sometimes. Militarily. Without giving per se secrets. All right, the objective is we're just going to win. We're going to get the guy. Just go in and get him back. How many people? Don't ask. You're not supposed to ask questions. And we're going to get you off the team and dishonorable discharge. You're a humiliation to the military. Blah blah blah. No, we just go in. We get a guy, get the person, and we come back out. And that's it. So, you don't want to tell somebody too much in details. They're going to want to know stuff, and it's going to mess things up. There is that. That's practical to a point. But this lack of details, people are floating on blah, 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 and the battery's about to go out. Women are reacting based on fantasy novels or stories. Real life is a fantasy novel for a woman, and that's how come you're getting some of the reactions you're getting, type of thing. And they don't understand what a relationship actually is. Ernie Moore Jr. Just some stuff, something that occurred to me. Okie doke. Very good. Thank you very much.